All right, so we're diving deep today
Uh-huh.
into the world of IndiGo, one of India's,
Right.
and really the world's fastest growing airlines.
Just pretty
'Cause
remarkable. Yeah.
we've got all their financials, press releases, investor presentations.
Lots to dig
We're
into.
going behind the scenes to see
Absolutely.
what's making them so successful.
Well, Indigo's really interesting
Yeah.
because they're dominating the market in India as a low-cost carrier.
Right.
And their recent performance,
Yeah.
particularly their Q3 2025 results,
Okay.
they're packed with surprises.
So we're talking
Yeah.
record passenger numbers,
Yes.
but also some interesting cost pressures.
Uh-huh.
So let's unpack all that.
Absolutely. So
Right.
to set the scene,
Right.
IndiGo is known for its rapid growth.
Mhm.
And this is clearly reflected in their Q3 operational metrics.
Okay.
So their capacity, which is basically how many seats they can fly,
Right.
surged by 12%.
12%. That's pretty significant.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Think of it this way.
Okay.
They flew a record-breaking 31.1 million passengers in that quarter.
Wow.
That's like filling Wembley Stadium,
Really?
almost 30 times over.
Wow. 31.1 million passengers.
Yeah.
You'd think profits would be through the roof.
You would think, right?
All right.
Yeah, well, that's where things get interesting.
Okay.
So while their total income did climb
Mm-hmm.
by almost 15%
Okay.
to INR 229.9 billion,
Okay.
their net profit actually dipped
No.
by 18.3%.
Hold on. So more passengers, but less profit?
Yeah.
Something's not adding up here.
It seems counterintuitive,
Yeah.
but it all comes down to this really fascinating interplay of factors.
Okay. I'm all ears. Let's break this down.
All right, so one key factor is rising costs.
Okay.
So even though fuel prices,
Yeah?
which are a major expense for any airline,
Of course.
they actually decreased during this period.
Interesting.
Other expenses went up.
Right. So what kind of expenses are we talking?
Well, think aircraft rentals,
Okay.
airport fees,
Yeah.
and employee costs.
Right.
All those saw a significant increase.
Okay.
And that's reflected in a key metric called ACASE.
Okay. Now, what is Cascade exactly?
Right. So CASK stands for cost per available seat kilometer.
Okay.
So it's essentially a measure of how much it costs an airline
Yeah.
to fly one seat
Okay.
for 1 kilometer.
I see.
And the lower the CASK,
Yeah.
the more efficient the airline.
Makes sense.
Now, for IndiGo, their CASK increased,
Okay.
which means it was getting more expensive for them
Right.
to operate each flight.
So even though their revenue went up,
Uh-huh.
their costs were going up even faster.
Exactly.
Oof, that's a tough spot to be in.
It is. It's like filling up your car with cheaper gas,
Yeah.
but then getting hit with a massive parking ticket.
Okay, I see the challenge, but it doesn't sound like
Yeah.
IndiGo was just sitting back
Oh, no.
and letting this happen.
Absolutely not.
Right.
They were making strategic moves during this time.
Right.
Okay.
Most notably, they were expanding their fleet.
All right.
They added 27 new passenger aircraft.
27 new planes. Wow, that's a big investment.
It is,
Eh.
including some shiny new Airbus A320s and A321neos.
Okay, those are some serious planes.
They are.
Yeah.
And it really shows IndiGo's commitment to growth.
So these new aircraft, they must be more fuel efficient.
They are?
Right.
Yeah.
Which helps with those fuel costs in the long run.
Exactly.
But they also give them the ability
Yes.
to expand their network.
Exactly.
And speaking of network expansion, I
Yeah.
hear IndiGo added some pretty exciting destinations.
Oh, yeah, they did.
Okay.
Domestically, they added new routes
Yeah.
to places like Puducherry.
Hoodoo Cherry. Okay.
Yeah, which is known for its beautiful beaches.
I'm adding that to my travel list.
Yeah, definitely.
What about internationally?
Internationally, they added routes to Mauritius,
Oh, nice.
a tropical paradise,
Yeah.
and Penang, Malaysia, which is a foodie's dream. Okay, so we've got expanding their fleet, adding new destinations,
Mhm.
and fuel prices are relatively under control.
Relatively, yeah.
Sounds like they're setting themselves up for success.
Well, it seems that way, but
Oh,
there are a few more pieces to this puzzle
okay.
that might surprise you.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
All right, remember those new Airbus planes we talked about?
Yeah.
Well, it turns out IndiGo actually received some compensation
Oh.
from the engine manufacturer,
Okay.
International Aero Engines,
Oh,
or IAE,
Right.
due to issues with grounded aircraft.
Wait, so they got paid because some of their brand new planes weren't flyable.
That's an interesting point.
That's wild. What does that tell us about their expansion strategy?
Well, it just highlights that, buying new aircraft,
Mm.
it's essential for growth, but it also comes with risks.
Right.
What's fascinating here is that
Yeah.
It exposes a potential vulnerability in IndiGo's strategy.
So it's not just about adding planes. It's about making sure those planes are reliable and ready to fly.
Exactly. Exactly.
Huh, that adds a whole new layer of complexity to their operations.
It does.
Yeah.
Maintaining a large and diverse fleet,
Mm-hmm.
especially one that's growing as rapidly as IndiGo's,
Mm-hmm.
requires meticulous planning,
Sure.
skilled engineers,
Of course.
and readily available spare parts.
I mean, that sounds like a logistical nightmare,
It's a lot of coordination.
especially when you're adding dozens of new planes every quarter.
It is. And
Yeah.
IndiGo does have a reputation for efficiency.
Yeah.
But these engine issues,
Yeah.
they raise questions about their ability to manage this rapid growth sustainably.
So it's a gamble.
It is.
They're betting that the revenue from all these new planes and routes
Mhm.
is going to outweigh the potential risks and costs.
Exactly.
Wow, okay, and that's just one of the challenges they're facing.
It is.
Okay, well, I can't wait to hear more about the challenges and
Yeah.
what they all mean for IndiGo's future. This is getting good.
It is. We'll dive deeper into those challenges in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll explore their response to these cost pressures,
Right.
their bold move to challenge the Indian government over taxes,
Oh, wow.
and ultimately what it all means for their ability to keep soaring.
This is turning into a real nail-biter.
It is.
I'm ready for part 2.
Let's do it.
All right, so we're back
We are.
and ready to continue our deep dive
Yeah.
into IndiGo's Q3 2025 performance.
Right.
So far, we've seen some pretty impressive growth, but also some potential headwinds,
Yes.
like those engine issues
Right.
and rising operational costs.
Absolutely.
Now, it seems like IndiGo isn't just passively reacting to these challenges.
Oh, they're not.
They're actively trying to mitigate them.
Exactly.
So let's talk about how they're addressing these issues.
Yeah.
Where do we start?
Well, let's go back to those engine issues.
Okay.
And the compensation that IndiGo received. This situation really highlights a crucial aspect of fleet management,
Okay.
especially for an airline growing as rapidly as IndiGo.
So what's the takeaway here?
Yeah.
What does this engine compensation tell us about IndiGo's approach to growth?
It shows that, it's not enough to just acquire new aircraft.
Yeah.
You need to make sure those aircraft are reliable and ready to fly.
Right.
So this situation
Yeah.
kind of exposes a potential vulnerability,
Cool.
even for an airline known for its operational efficiency.
It's like buying a fancy new sports car.
Yeah,
Well, only to find out it spends more time in the shop than on the road.
that's a great analogy.
Right.
Yeah, and it underscores the complexity
Yeah.
of managing a large and diverse fleet like IndiGo's.
Sure.
They need skilled engineers, readily available spare parts,
Yeah.
a really robust maintenance schedule.
Sounds like a logistical puzzle
Oh, it is.
with a lot of moving pieces.
Definitely.
And for investors watching IndiGo's growth,
Yeah,
it raises some questions about whether that growth is truly sustainable.
it does.
So is this a cause for concern
Well,
or just a minor bump in the road?
it's certainly something to keep an eye on.
Okay.
If these engine issues persist,
Yeah?
it could impact IndiGo's ability to maintain those ambitious expansion plans.
All right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now let's move on to another challenge.
Okay.
That regulatory battle with the Indian government
Right.
over taxes on imported aircraft parts.
Mm-hmm.
What's the latest on that?
Well, IndiGo is standing firm.
Okay.
Remember, they already paid a significant amount under protest,
Yeah.
which shows how seriously they're taking this issue.
I admire that they're willing to challenge the government
Yeah,
on something they believe is unfair.
it's a bold move.
But what are the broader implications of this tax dispute?
Right.
Could this impact other industries in India?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So while this specific dispute revolves around the aviation industry,
Yeah.
it speaks to a larger issue
Okay.
that many businesses in India face.
What's that?
Navigating a complex
Yeah.
and often unpredictable regulatory environment.
So it's not just about the taxes themselves.
No.
It's also about the uncertainty
Yes,
and potential delays that these kinds of disputes can create.
precisely. And for a fast-growing company like IndiGo,
Yeah.
time is money.
Yeah, of course.
Every day, an aircraft is grounded for repairs.
Right.
Or caught up in bureaucratic red tape.
Yeah.
It's a potential loss of revenue.
And potentially impacting customer satisfaction, too,
Oh, absolutely.
if flights are delayed or canceled.
Yeah.
So this tax battle, even if it's eventually resolved in IndiGo's favor,
Mhm.
is already costing them in multiple ways.
It highlights the interconnectedness of all these challenges.
It does.
The engine issues,
But-
the regulatory hurdles,
Yeah.
the rising costs. It's all part of a bigger picture.
Okay, I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together.
Yeah.
But ultimately, what does this mean for IndiGo's future?
Right.
Can they overcome these challenges and continue on this upward trajectory?
That's the million-dollar question.
It is.
And it's something we'll explore in detail in the final part of our deep dive.
Right.
We'll analyze their overall strategy,
Right.
weigh the potential risks and rewards,
Yeah.
and ultimately try to answer the question,
Okay.
can IndiGo keep soaring?
I'm on the edge of my seat.
Okay.
Let's get to it. Okay, we're back for the final part of our deep dive into IndiGo. We've seen their triumphs,
Yeah.
their struggles, the calculated risks they're taking.
Yeah.
Now, the big question,
The big one.
can they keep this incredible growth going?
That's what everyone wants to know, right?
Yeah.
Like, watching a high-flying trapeze artist,
Okay.
you're amazed by their skill, but you also can't help but wonder,
Yeah.
are they going to stick the landing?
Exactly.
Right?
So let's dig into these financial reports and see if we can glean any clues about IndiGo's future trajectory.
All right. Well, there are a few key indicators that give us some insight.
Okay.
Remember those record-breaking passenger numbers we talked about?
Oh, yeah.
31.1 million in one quarter alone?
Hard to forget a number like that.
It is. It really is.
It's clear that IndiGo is tapping into something big here.
They are.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting is this growth isn't just a fluke.
Okay.
It reflects a larger trend we're seeing in India.
What's that?
Demand for air travel is soaring,
Okay.
and IndiGo is positioned perfectly to capitalize on that.
So even with those cost pressures we discussed, they're still managing to attract a huge number of passengers.
They are, yeah.
But the question is,
Yeah.
can they keep those low fares
Right.
and stay profitable?
Well, that's the question, isn't it?
It seems like a tough balancing act.
It is. It's a classic dilemma in the
Yeah.
airline industry.
Sure.
But I think what's different now is the level of competition.
Okay.
The Indian aviation market is getting crowded. Yeah, you've got new players entering the scene, existing airlines expanding their operations.
So more competition usually means lower prices.
Right.
So wouldn't that make it even harder for IndiGo
Well,
to maintain its profit margins?
it could, and that's why IndiGo's strategic expansion is so important.
Okay.
They're not just adding capacity, they're diversifying their network, both domestically and internationally.
So it's like they're hedging their bets,
They are.
spreading the risk by not relying too heavily on any one market.
Exactly.
That's smart.
Yeah.
So by expanding into new regions, adding those fuel-efficient aircraft,
Right.
they're trying to create a more resilient business model
Exactly.
that can withstand these fluctuations in fuel prices and competition.
Exactly. That's the idea.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But, even with the best strategy, there are always unforeseen challenges.
Of course.
Like those engine issues, for example. How
Yeah.
big of a concern are those in the long run?
Well, while those engine issues do raise questions about IndiGo's ability to manage such rapid growth, it's important to remember that they're not unique to IndiGo.
Right.
I mean, the aviation industry is complex.
That is.
And even the most well-maintained aircraft can encounter technical difficulties.
So should travelers be worried about their IndiGo flights getting delayed
No.
or canceled because of these issues?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I think what's more important is to look at IndiGo's overall track record.
Okay.
Are they able to maintain that high level of operational efficiency?
Right.
Are they resolving these issues promptly and effectively?
Yeah.
That's what will ultimately determine their long-term success.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So it sounds like we'll have to wait and see how all this plays out.
I think so.
But after this deep dive,
yeah.
I feel like I have a much better understanding of the forces at play here.
Good. That's the goal.
We just want to give you the tools to not just read the headlines.
Right.
But to really understand what's driving those headlines.
Exactly.
To see the bigger picture.
The bigger picture, yeah.
So as we wrap up here,
Okay.
what's the one key takeaway you want our listeners to ponder?
All right.
What should they be watching for as IndiGo's story continues to unfold?
I think the most important thing to watch is whether IndiGo can maintain that delicate balance between aggressive growth and operational stability.
Right.
Can they navigate those regulatory hurdles?
Yeah.
Can they keep costs under control while still offering those low fares that have made them so popular?
Those are great questions.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll be revisiting IndiGo's journey in future deep dives as their story continues to evolve.
I'm sure we will.
It's a fascinating case study.
It is.
And one that has implications.
Absolutely.
For the entire Indian aviation industry.
It really does.
Well, I know I'll be keeping a close eye on their next quarterly report.
I will too.
Thanks for taking us on this deep dive.
My pleasure.
It's been enlightening.
Glad to hear it.